There's many times, guys, that I couldn't even stand myself. I mean, I'd used so long and so hard, I couldn't quit. I promised myself, I'm gonna quit. I could do this. I'm not a drug addict. I'm just doing it because I wanna do it. You don't know how many times I've sat on my couch or in a chair, just sitting there, everything inside of me just wanting to crawl out because I couldn't stand who I was. I know the feeling. I know what it's like to want to kill yourself. I know what it's like to be ashamed of yourself and what you become. Something just started eating on me, and I went in my cell, and I started crying out to God. I said, God, I see where you've got me. I don't understand this. I can't handle where I'm at. I'm not meant to be thrown in the penitentiary. I'm not meant to be a cellmate. That's when God really first started working on me. I just had a peace come over me. I laid down in the bed. I went to sleep. As Daniel said, my name's Roger Burton. Most of you know me. I've been in and out. You've probably wondered why. Well, hopefully what I share with you this morning will make you understand why I do what I do. There was a rich man, an engineer, a priest, and a little boy on an airplane. The pilot calls back, says, we've only got 3 parachutes. The engine's quit on the airplane. The airplane's going down. Rich businessman grabs a parachute, puts it on. He said, I'm important. I employ a lot of people. Jumps out of the airplane. The rich engineer, he says, well, I'm important too. He said, I invent stuff. I change people's lives. I make the world easier. He grabs a parachute and jumps out. The pastor says, well, son, he said, I know my heart's with God. He said, I know where I'm going. He said, you can have the last parachute. The little boy said, that's okay, pastor. That smart engineer, he just grabbed my backpack and jumped out with it. Amen. I was born in Artesia, California. I was born with chronic asthma. They didn't give me much of a chance to live. I was the 5th out of 6 siblings. They told my mom and dad, they said, well, with chronic asthma, a baby this young, there's not much of a chance of him getting through it. Well, thanks to a neighbor next door, she took me in and she babied me. She put me under this sheet in her bedroom, made a tent, kept me on a vaporizer, and 2.5 years later, I outgrew my asthma. Wow. Well, whenever I was 3 years old, we moved to Oklahoma from California. We were raised in a rich mansion up on a big hillside. Okay, wait a minute. Maybe I'm stretching that a little bit. I'm the good-looking little guy in front. I was born. We were raised dirt poor. It was my mom and dad, 5 siblings, and we were raised. That's about a third of our house. We had a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, small house. And that's what I grew up in until I was 6 or 7 years old. When I was 7 years old, I decided a smart thing to do to be playing with matches and gasoline. I lived on a farm. We had an overhead tank. I put gas in a little paper cup, set it out on the ground. I sat there and I lit it on fire, and I'm sitting there watching it burn. I thought, boy, if Dad comes home and sees me playing with this, he's going to beat my butt. So I stomped it out. When I stomped the cup, it shot at my body. I had 3rd-degree burns from here to here. Over 35% of my body had 3rd-degree burns around my shoulder, here, all down my arm. They rushed me to Carnegie Hospital. Carnegie Hospital said, we've never seen nothing like this. We don't know what to do. So they sent me to Lawton. I got to Lawton, and Lawton said, no, this is too bad. We're not equipped to handle anything like this. We don't know about it. So they hit me up with pain meds, put me in the ambulance, sent me to Oklahoma City Children's Memorial Hospital. That's where I spent the next 3 months. The outlook wasn't good. They told my mom and dad, said, there's a very slim chance that your boy's going to make it. So the degree of his burns, they burn deep. And if he ever took a breath while he was on fire, it scorched his lungs. With my burns, they couldn't x-ray me. So they said, the only time will tell. All you can do is pray about it. I wasn't brought up in church. I didn't go to church 3 times from the time I was born until I came in this program. My dad was on pain meds. He had back problems. And Dad was abusive to us kids. Dad would go to work. He would come home in the afternoon or at night. And if he was in a bad mood, the kid that was closest to him was the one that's going to get beat that night. And thankfully, for us, most of us kids, my older brother, he was the one that took the brunt of it because he was usually the one that was out in the yard closest to Dad. At 8 years old, I began taking my dad's pain pills. At 10 years old, I started smoking cigarettes. At 16 years old, I started smoking pot. At 17 years old, I started taking speed pills, White Crosses, Yellow Jackets, Black Mollies. At 19, I married my high school sweetheart. We had 3 kids together. At 22 to 23, I was arrested 2 times, once for APC, which is actual physical control of a vehicle. I was wiped out drunk on the side of the road, keys were in ignition. I was arrested once for possession of marijuana. I had to go through a drug evaluation and had to do drug classes. At 24, I was introduced to meth. By the time I was 30, I was a full-blown meth addict. My brother, around the time I was 30, 32, he started going to church. He got my mom and dad going to church. He's got all my siblings going to church. He asked me to go to church several times. I just kept telling myself I'm not going to be a hypocrite because I know what I do and I'm not going to go to church and do what I do. My brother became a pastor. He opened a church, started a church in Weatherford, Oklahoma, and it grew. He did well at it. After 3 or 4 years, his wife divorced him, so he quit pastoring. At the age of 46, I was selling meth. I was arrested for possession of CDS, possession of controlled substance, CDS with intent, possession of CDS within 2,000 foot of a public park, possession of CDS within 2,000 feet of a public school. The DA recommended the bond be set at $50,000. Well, I'd seen this stuff before. I watched Perry Mason before. I thought, well, I really hadn't been in trouble that much. The DA says, well, we recommend this, and the judge says, well, I see this is a bad guy, and bam, I'll lower the bond. But the DA said, 20 years ago, Mr. Burton was arrested for possession of marijuana. So this tells me that he's had a lifelong drug habit. I'd suggest a bond be set at $50,000. The judge grabs a gavel and bam, says, granted. My knees buckled and I about hit the floor. When I finally got where I could stand up, I turned to the side, and my oldest daughter was sitting in the audience. She was bawling her eyes out. I seen what I did to her. I hurt her bad. She didn't want to see her dad there, but I could just see and feel the shame that she felt for what I'd been doing. I prayed to God, please get me out of here. I'll do anything. I happened to know the undersheriff of Custer County where I was arrested at, and I asked to talk to him. He came and talked to me, and due to his mercy and grace, he got me out on an OR bond. The recommended sentences for the charges that they had against me was 2 life sentences plus 10 years. I ended up getting 2 years or 5 years suspended, 2 years probation. Within 6 months of getting out of jail, I began gambling. When I was 49, my brother Jim died. He died from cancer. That was the most miserable 2 weeks I've ever had the pleasure of living. My brother, once he quit pastoring, he still kept his faith in God. Me and my 2 sisters and my younger brother spent the last 2 weeks right by his side while he was on his deathbed. He continually talked about God. God's not done with me yet. I still have my faith in God. And when he passed away, I just looked at him and I said, he had a peace about him. He suffered for over 5 years, and like 3 or 4 surgeries, had a bladder taken out, a kidney taken out, a prostate operation, and he never lost his faith. And the day he died, he still had this peace on his face. And I thought, I want to know the peace that he has someday. This is when I went off the deep end. I began shooting up with a needle. My gambling got worse. I began taking, the gambling took every dime that I could get my hands on. At 56 years old, my family had an intervention. I had to quit my job, which I had a good oil field job, making really good money. I had to quit my job. I moved in with my sister in Oklahoma City. I went to a 6-month outpatient rehab. Then I went back to work in the oil field. I quit again. I quit using for about 6 months. There's many times, guys, that I couldn't even stand myself. I mean, I'd used so long and so hard, I couldn't quit. I promised myself, I'm going to quit. I could do this. I'm not a drug addict. I'm just doing it because I want to do it. And you don't know how many times I've sat on my couch or in a chair, just sitting there, everything inside of me just wanting to crawl out because I couldn't stand who I was. I know the feeling. I know what it's like to want to kill yourself. I know what it's like to be ashamed of yourself and what you become. In May 2018, at 59 years old, I was arrested again in Bristow, Oklahoma. With a good amount of meth on me, I was locked up in Creek County Jail for 5 weeks. My family had no idea where I was. Whenever I checked in, they took my cell phone, they took my glasses. And you know how us old men are. Can't remember nothing. I know nobody's phone number. They wouldn't give me my phone to get phone numbers. So it took 3 weeks before I could even get a hold of anybody. And it's a long story how I finally got a hold of my sister. But I was able to finally contact my family. And I had my first visit after 3 weeks. The night before I had my first visit, I had a dream in my cell. And it was just a vision. And it was like the silhouette of Jesus and a silhouette of my brother who passed away. And I call it, I always say my brother had the perfect preacher hairdo. I mean, he never had a hair out of place. Everything was nice and neat. He was a preacher. Whenever my oldest sister and my daughter, youngest daughter, came up to see me, I told them, I said, I'm scared. I said, told them what I'd seen. I said, I feel like they're trying to tell me they want me to come to them. My sister said, brother, you tell them they can't have you yet. We're not done with you. This is where God really began to speak to me. It was normal in the Creek County Jail to get in a fight. I was in a fight 3, 4, 5 times a week. You couldn't avoid it. I told my daughter and my sister about my vision. My 3rd week was when a lot happened. I had got in the worst fight yet since I had been locked up. I gained respect of the inmates, the older inmates, the bad guys of the pod, because they said, this guy choked me out. And he said, old man, buzz out. I said, anybody's buzzing out, it's you that's going to buzz out. And he came down to my cell the next day. He said, old man, you gained our respect. For you to go through what we've been putting you through, he said, you've gained our respect, I got your back. After that, all I had to do was raise my voice. And 8 or 9 of them would, who's messing with the old man? They had my back. Just a day or 2 after that, I was in my cell. Something just started eating on me, and I went in my cell. And I started crying out to God. I said, God, I see where you've got me. I don't understand this. I can't handle where I'm at. I'm not meant to be thrown in the penitentiary. I'm not meant to be a cellmate. I've gained respect for these prisoners, but what do you want from me? God, tell me what you want from me. And after 3 days and nights of sitting there crying on my knees and crying on my bed, I heard this voice say to me, he said, Roger, I've been speaking to you for years. Are you ready to listen? Whenever that's when God really first started working on me. I just had a peace come over me. I laid down in the bed. I went to sleep. I called my oldest daughter a couple days later, and I said, Tasha, I need help. I need help. They had tried to get me to go into a rehab before, and I declined it. She said, well, Dad, what do you want? And I said, well, they're telling me here there's a teen challenge in Tyler, Texas that the courts really respect here. And I said, it'll give me some leniency on my court case if you can get me in there. And so she made some phone calls, and that's when she found Sonrise. And I told her, I said, well, I really don't want to go to Sonrise. I haven't heard that much about it. They keep saying the court system's Tyler, Texas. She said, Dad, we don't want you that far away. Sonrise is only an hour and a half away. We want where we can come see you when we want to come see you. I arrived at Sonrise June 18th, 2018. I was lost and broken. The soaps made no sense to me. The Bible made no sense to me. The first 2 or 3 days I was doing my soaps, I would sit down and I would start, okay, soap, scripture, I would read my scripture. Okay, observation. The only thing I could observe is that it made absolutely no sense to me. Tyler Potts just happened to be an intern at that time. I would sit about halfway through my soaps and I'd jump up and I'd just run in the bathroom and start bawling my eyes out, praying again. God, I don't understand this. I don't know why I'm here. I don't understand what you're trying to do to me, but I'm willing. Make sure I'm on the right. Yep. 1 Corinthians 2:9 and 10. But as it is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him. But God has revealed them to us through his Spirit. The Spirit searches all things, yes, the deep things of God. I didn't understand that, and I still don't 100%. There's one thing I've learned about becoming a Christian. The more that I learn, the dumber I get. Whenever I came in, they assigned Billy Bond to me as my advisor. After the end of the first week, Billy came down and introduced himself, and he took me right out here beside the building under this oak tree at the picnic table. He told me his testimony, and I told him a little bit of mine. And he said, Roger, are you saved? I said, well, yeah, I think I am, Billy. Whenever I was 9 or 10 years old, I went to a revival, and I got up and went forward. But I said, I guess I don't know. He said, okay, let me ask you this. If you died right now, do you think you would go to heaven or would you go to hell? I said, well, Billy, I don't think it's really up to me. I think it's up to God. I'll go where I go. He said, do you want to know? I said, yes, I do, Billy. Billy led me to Christ right out here at that table. After that, things started making a little bit of sense. About my 5th week in the program, I was ordered by the drug courts or by the courts to do a criminal evaluation. My lawyer stressed, don't be late. And guys, when he told me, you got to do a criminal evaluation, my times before when I got arrested, I had to do a drug assessment, drug evaluation, did a little bit of drug classes. But when he said criminal evaluation, I thought, whoa, this is crazy. But whenever they did arrest me in Bristow, I had a pretty large quantity of methamphetamine on me. I had enough of an amount that they were trying to get me for drug trafficking. They had me drug trafficking, possession of CDS, possession of paraphernalia, and I was looking at 7 to life. My lawyer stressed, don't be late because you'll have to reschedule and we need this on your records. The lady doing the evaluations had me convicted. Quick as I walked in, she just said, she pulled out this file like this. She said, who are you? I said, I'm Roger Burton. I'm here for an evaluation. She comes out carrying a file like this. I thought, whoa. How'd she get a thick file like I'm not that bad? She comes walking out and she says, Mr. Burton, this doesn't look too good on you. What have you got to say for yourself? And I thought, oh, boy. So we walked in this little room and sat down. I thought, I'm lost. I don't know what to say for myself. So I just bowed my head and I said, God, I don't know what to do. I've never done this. I don't know what's expected of me. All I want to do is honor you. Would you help me get through this? So I told her my testimony. I said, yes, ma'am, I know I don't have too good of a past. I told her what I was doing here at the ranch. I said, God's starting to work on my life. I'm pouring into other people around me. I said, my life, I do feel like my life has changed. After about 15 minutes, I looked up at her. This lady was 70-something years old. And just, when I walked in, when I looked up, she had tears running down her face. She said, Mr. Burton, my recommendation is going to be that the courts keep you right where you're at. I don't know how or what they're doing, but I know it's working. See, that day that I went to my drug evaluation, God answered 4 prayers for me that day. My lawyer said, do not be late. Me and my sister had to drive from Alfalfa, which is about 50 miles north of here, to Sapulpa, Oklahoma. And we thought we had it right how we would be there on time. When we took off and we got almost to Oklahoma City, and I put up Google Maps, and I thought, we're going to be about 45 minutes late. So I just started praying, God, I've got to do this. I've got to be there. Please don't let me be late. Let a miracle happen. Just let us get there. We pulled up straight up 9 o'clock at my appointment. I know you can knock some time off of Google Maps, but you can't knock 45 minutes off from Oklahoma City to Sapulpa, Oklahoma. It happened. That was the first one. The second one is when I prayed to the lady, or prayed to God, help me, give me the words. We come back. My daughter had bought me some tennis shoes, and they didn't fit. And she bought them at a name brand store in Weatherford. So my sister stopped back in there, and we're going to exchange these shoes. Well, we go in there, and I start trying on shoes. This little lady come up and help, and she was working her tail off. Well, this, well, no, this don't fit. Yeah, this fits. Ooh, $200 and something. No, that doesn't fit. I have no money. I'm not asking my sister for money. I thought, no, I'm going to make it work or it's not going to work. After about 30 minutes, this lady said, well, I don't know. She said, let me go downstairs and see what I can find. She went downstairs, come back up, had 1 pair. I said, no, I don't like them. They were $150. The shoes my daughter bought me was $40, like 38 something. So she said, well, I'm sorry. I guess we don't have anything that we can help you with. And I looked at my sister. I said, sister, I didn't pray. I bowed my head and I said, Lord God, I said, this lady, she's trying her hardest. I need shoes. I need to help bless this lady in some way, do something. And she says, well, let me see. She goes up front, right by the door where your first rack you walk in on. We'd done been around that rack 2 or 3 times, picks up this pair of shoes. And she said, this is the shoes like I wear. She said, I do a lot of running. Try these on. I slipped them on. I said, well, they perfect fit. I said, how much are they? She said, they're exactly the same price as the shoes you're bringing back. That's the 3rd prayer God answered that day. Well, I was supposed to be back here at the ranch by 5 o'clock. We went from Weatherford to Alfalfa, stopped by my sister's. I grabbed my belongings. We started up here at the home 15 minutes late. I prayed to God, can't happen. Please get us there on time. We pulled up 5 minutes early. Guys, prayer works. God will work for you. You just got to learn to focus on Him. Don't focus on what you want. Focus on what He wants for you. God will take care of you if you'll give your heart, mind, and soul to Him. Five months into the program, the education director, he told all the night students, he said, gave us Matthew 9:14 through 17. It's where John's disciples are questioning Jesus. Why do we have to pray and fast, but Jesus' disciples, your disciples, don't have to? And I looked at that. It's like short verses. And the teacher said, well, I want a 3-page report and a 5-page sermon. I thought, boy, no way could I do this. This was on Thursday. We had to have it by Tuesday. Well, I read it, tried working on it all weekend. It wasn't making sense. Sunday night, I went to bed and I prayed. I said, God, I got to do this. I have no idea what you're trying to speak to me. Would you please help me get at least a 3-page sermon out of this? Okay, Acts 2:17. And it shall come to pass in the last day, says God, that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your young men shall see visions, and your old man will dream dreams. That Sunday night, I was in room 1. I was a room leader, so you know what bed that is. And I went to bed, and at 1:15, I'll never forget it, 1:15 in the morning, I could hear Billy Bond was on duty. He was in the bubble. His phone rings. And I thought, oh, boy, what? I need my sleep. What's going on here? And I got up, had to go to the bathroom, got up, went to the bathroom, and this thought just hit me. What if that was one of my daughters telling me something happened to one of my grandkids? What if one of them was in a car wreck? What if something happened? What if one of my grandkids died? And I thought, God, I've had thoughts like this off and on throughout my life, and I could just say, change your mind, thought process, get away from it, go away. It wouldn't go away. So I hit my knees when I got out of the bathroom. I said, God, what are you trying to tell me? God gave me a 4.5-hour vision that night. I had no idea what was going on. It was the scariest thing. It was the most awesome thing. I can't describe it, but he was showing me what I needed to see. I'm not going to get into the whole vision because I don't want to keep you guys here 4.5 hours. But I can tell you, God is awesome. He gave me a sermon through that. One of the main things that he showed me is I would be sitting there and it would be coming up to something and it would start fading out. And I would hit my knees. I thought, God, don't end it here. Don't end in the middle of something. Show me what you're trying to show me, God. I know you're not done. Show me what I need to see. And I'd hear a voice saying, that's right, Roger. Keep your focus on me, not on the world. I would get going again, and it would start fading out. I said, God, please show me. Don't show me the rest of this story. He said, that's right, Roger. Focus on me. Don't focus on what's around you. Guys, I can't explain what happened that night other than it was from God. But that night changed my life. That's when I really started digging in. Okay, I know this is real. I know God's real. I know he's working on me. 11 months into the program, by the way, I ended up having a 9-page report the next afternoon and a 20-minute sermon. When I was writing it, I changed it. I thought, boy, if I give this over what I seen in my vision, these people are going to think I'm crazy. So I started rewriting it, and Brad Julian was the education director. He walked in the room, and he never comes in the room. I was sitting at my desk writing, and he just walks in, goes to the back window in room 1. He says, what are you doing, old man? I said, trying to get this sermon, Brad. I said, I had something, but I can't do what I originally had. I said, the guys will think I'm crazy. I said, I'm rewriting my sermon. He said, no. You go with God put on your heart at first, and turned around and walks out of the room. So when we come into class, into chapel, I went up to Brad. I'm still writing. Make me the last one. There was 14 guys in here. I was the 14th one to give my sermon, and I was still writing when Brad called me up. I asked Brad a few days later, I said, am I crazy? He said, no. He said, I've seen visions before. He said, like you had, I've never seen nothing like that. But I have had little visions. 11 months in, I went to my sentencing on my court case. I was looking at 7 to life. All the way through this, the DA was wanting me to roll over. Me and my cousin was arrested together. He had a lot of charges in Creek County. They kept saying, we need you to testify. We need evidence against him. We need you to testify against him. And I told my lawyer, I said, I'm not going to. I said, all the drugs we had, the paraphernalia we had was mine. And I'm not going to pin what I had on my cousin. And the lawyer said, well, we're going to keep that between us because that's self-conviction right there. You just admitted to guilt. So we're not taking that to the DA. The DA wanted to hang me. I was looking at 7 to life, and she was wanting to go for life. The morning of my sentence, outside the courtroom, my sister and one of my daughters was with me, and I said, we need to pray. We need to pray. We prayed. We walked in there, and my lawyer was in a room with another lady. And I walked in. He said, just step outside. He said, I'll be right with you. I said, okay. Well, he got done with her, and I walked in. He said, I don't know how I did it. He said, I've been a lawyer in Creek County for 35 years. He said, this DA was wanting to hang your butt until this morning. He said, what they're offering you is 7 years suspended with probation. And I just looked at him. I said, you didn't do nothing. You were just a vessel. God did the work. Guys, this is my second big offense. It's my fourth offense. There ain't no way that I should be here talking to you today. I should be locked up or dead. I had Reggie as a PO officer here in Lawton. Most of you guys know Reggie if you're on probation. Reggie's an awesome guy. My second month in, he asked me, he said, well, what is your probation? I said, Reggie, I got no idea. They just told me 7 years suspended with probation. So he started looking into it. And next time, second month I went back, he said, Roger, he said, Creek County doesn't even know what your probation is. He said, they've got their paperwork so screwed up, all they know is they gave you probation. He said, I'm going to put in the paperwork requesting that your probation be canceled. He said, anything that they would have you to do on probation, you've already done before they ever sentenced you. I said, well, yeah, okay. And I thought, nah, this ain't going to happen. I went in the next month. He said, what are you doing here? I said, it's my probation. I'll come to have my visit with you. He said, well, he said, you could have come in 3 weeks ago. He said, they approved the cancellation of your probation 3 months in. 3 months in. I interned for 4 months after I completed the program. Then I got out on my own, went out into the world. See how we're doing here. Okay. It was tough. That's about the time COVID hit. I did good for about 4 or 5 months. Then it got to where I've got COPD. That's when COVID hit. I did remodel work, construction work. And I'd go up to somebody, hey, I need some work. You got any work I can do? No, you got COVID. I was getting behind on my rent. Things weren't looking good. I started thinking to myself, what's wrong? Why is this happening? I've done what I'm supposed to do. I went through a program. I'm staying clean. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. What is wrong? And then I just started praying about it. I meditated on it. I thought, well, okay, Roger, you quit doing your daily devotions. You read your Bible every now and then. You spend a lot of time in your prayer closet, but that's not what God wants. God wants a relationship with you. He doesn't want a part-time Christian. He wants you to be all in. Things were getting worse. I was getting further behind on my rent. Randall Wilbur was the pastor here at the ranch whenever I went through the program. He moved to Montana, opened up the first men's teen challenge in Montana. Out of the blue, Randall calls me, said, what are you doing, old man? I don't know why everybody calls me old man. There's something about it. They just pinned that on me. I said, well, I'm just trying to get by, Randall. He said, well, how are things going? I said, not good. I said, I'm getting behind on my rent. I can't find work. He said, have you relapsed? I said, no. I said, I'm good. I haven't even thought about relapsing, Randall, but I'm struggling financially, can't find work. He said, well, God just put it on my heart to call you. He said, how would you like to come to Billings, Montana and be my first intern and help me open up this teen challenge? Thought, oh boy, I don't know about this. So I called all my daughters. I called up here, had guys praying for me. I said, I need you to pray for me. This is what's going on. It's tough. I'm not making it, but they're offering me a 12-month internship. I said, I would have to be in Montana. All my family's within 80 miles of here, except for one sister that lives in Alabama. I thought, okay, somebody's going to tell me, no, Dad, you don't need to do that. Or, brother, you think about what you're doing. Guys, everybody, including my daughter, said, Dad, this is God putting a calling on your life. You go to Montana, we'll be just fine. We're still going to be here. So I went to Montana. I had struggles in Montana. Whenever I was up there was a little guy come in. He was 22 years old, Native American, and he was doing awesome in the program. Well, their court systems are a little bit different up there. They've got what they call a steer court. It's kind of like drug court here, but you have to go to a class 5 days a week, drug test 2 or 3 days a week. They've got classes you got to do, a bunch of stuff. And the court system was wanting to pull him out of Teen Challenge, and they were wanting him to do steer court. And I called my daughter, and I said, honey, I'm just struggling. I said, told her about Justin. And I said, the courts are wanting to pull him out. She said, Dad, do you think it would do any good if I wrote a letter to the courts? I said, I have no idea. So I asked Randall, I said, hey, my daughter said she would write a letter of recommendation if you thought it would help. And he said, have her to do it. Guys, everything that you do. I was an old man. My kids were grown and away from home before I ever started getting in trouble using drugs. Anything that you do in your life is going to affect anybody that loves you. You don't think it will. I'm a grown man. My kids are gone. I'm divorced. I can do what I want to do. It's only affected me. This is the letter my daughter wrote.
Dated February 1st, 2021. It says, to whom it may concern, you don't know me. I'm not even from your state, but I do have an investment in your part of the country. My investment is my dad. He recently moved to Montana as an intern for Adult and Teen Challenge program. On May 10th, 2018, my dad was arrested. His charges were trafficking illegal drugs, possession of a controlled and dangerous substance, and unlawful possession of drug paraphernalia. He was in the county jail for 3 weeks before I knew that he had been arrested. He called me and told me he needed help and wanted help. Let's be honest, who isn't ready for help when they have been sitting in jail for 3 weeks? I started making phone calls trying to find a drug rehab facility that would take him. He wanted a 30-day facility. Everywhere I called told me that they were full. My heart wasn't in it. I had heard it all before. He wants help. He will do better. I didn't have high hopes that this time he would actually go or he would stick with it. We'd been down this road before. My last resort was Sonrise Ranch Adult and Teen Challenge in Cache, Oklahoma. It was 2 hours away from home. They informed me about the intake process and told me that there were a 13-month program. I thought there was no way my dad would go for it. 13 months of no job, no freedom, no family, no friends, no way. When he called again from jail, I told him what I'd found, and he said, okay, I will go. We were finally able to post bail after he had been in the county jail for 5 weeks. Within a week of posting bail, he was headed to rehab. From the second I spoke to the admissions coordinator to get him approved, I had a peace fall over me. Of course, it was scary. I felt like I was dropping my kid off at school for the first day. The staff was so encouraging and uplifting. I left with a feeling that things will be different this time. He was surrounded with other addicts that had beat addiction. They had been where he was and could relate to his feelings. Several of the staff members that were there that day were now also in Montana. His lawyer told us that he would get no less than 8 years and possibly a life sentence. This was his second time to be arrested for the same offense. He gave us little to no hope. The change that I saw in my dad over the next 13 months is something that I can't really put into words. There were some really hard times for him while he was there. He was pushed, challenged, made to face his demons. He grew from a quiet, broken, isolated man to a man that is strong in his faith, believes fiercely in this program, and is building relationships with his family that at one time seemed hopeless. He was sentenced in June of 2019. He received a sentence of probation and no prison time. The men in this program kept telling us to have faith. Don't give up. Miracles happen. What seemed so hopeless was a miracle in the making. He is now a mentor for men that face the same fate as he once did. He has moved from Oklahoma and everything he knows to Montana to help get the program up and running there. I cannot begin to tell you how thankful I am for this program. It not only gave us hope, it gave me my dad back. I see the dad that I remember as a little girl before the drugs took him away. This program is giving me a chance to reset and learn how to provide again.
Thanks, Pitcher.
How to be leaders and how to deal with the temptations that come their way. They learn about working as a team, trusting in God. When things seem to be going all wrong, to pray and believe even when you are unsure of the outcome. Dad told me many times, just trust God fully. Whatever's supposed to happen will happen. If I go to prison, there is a reason. The reason for all this is to ask you to please consider giving Justin Plainfeather a chance. Justin Plainfeather is a student in the Teen Challenge program. I've spoken to my dad about him several times. Dad says he is a leader in the center, and the center will definitely feel his absence if he has to leave. He is reaching for a relationship with God. His faith is growing. I feel that it would be a great injustice to his recovery if he is not allowed to complete the program. I've seen firsthand the incredible transformation that these men can make. It would be a shame to let a man that is making positive changes in his life lose all that he has gained in just this short time at the center. I can only imagine what he can accomplish if he is able to complete the program. This isn't a rehab. They are changing lives, teaching men to fully rely on God, putting them in the Word every single day. There aren't a lot of rehabilitation facilities that encourage a relationship with Christ, and for these men, this is the only way they're going to beat their addiction forever, and I believe that to be true with Justin. I appreciate your time. I would appreciate your consideration in a lesser sentence for Justin Plainfeather. Just like my dad, maybe this was his rock bottom, and this is the opportunity it needs to really make a difference. Thank you, Natasha Drennan, Thomas, Oklahoma.
Thanks, brother. Guys, it's amazing what God can do in your life if you'll just let Him. One thing that I didn't mention the day before I came into the ranch, I went by to tell my kids bye. I went to my middle daughter's house and I told her, well, I'm going to go. I know I can do this thing. I know I need God. I'm going to change my life. And her kids and her husband was there. She said, Dad, let's go outside. We stepped outside on the porch, and my daughter said, Dad, go do this thing. You've got to do this thing. But I'll tell you right now, I don't even know if I like you. I don't know if I ever want to speak to you again. I don't know who you are, but I know you're not my dad anymore. You go do this thing, and we'll see what happens after you do this thing. Guys, that broke me. You think it's just you? It's not just you. This was this last December 24th. The girl right there in the white shirt with the white jacket on, sweater, whatever. That's the daughter that told me that. She called me a week before Christmas. Me and my kids, we usually have Christmas, but it's usually 3 weeks, a month after Christmas because they've got her mom, her family, their husband's family, they're busy at Christmas. My daughter calls me the week before Christmas. She said, Dad, what are you doing for Christmas? I said, well, right now my plans are I usually spend Christmas out at the ranch with the guys. She said, okay. She said, Dad, we don't want you to be alone. Would you come up and spend the day before New Year, or the day before Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with us? We want to spend Christmas with you. This is the same girl that said she didn't even know she liked me. Guys, God heals relationships. I am living proof. After I left Montana, I came back here. I was a Montana 14 months intern. I came back here and interned 14 months. I retired a year ago this last February. I spend my time now with you guys. You guys going out of the program, I spend my time trying to keep in touch with you, keep you connected with God, trying to help get you in a church, get you whatever I can do to help you. That's what I spend my life doing now. And guys, I've had a lot of you guys say, well, I appreciate you coming out. It really helps me. What I do for you guys is nothing compared to what you all do for me when I come out here. It is awesome. If you would have told me 7 years ago, Roger, a few years down the road, you're going to be standing up in front of congregations and in front of Teen Challenge students, that you're going to be talking in churches, giving your testimony, speaking about God. You're going to be hugging men, telling them, I love you, brother. I'd have told you, you've lost your mind. But I'll tell you what, there ain't nothing that I would rather do today than to hug each and every one of you and tell you that I love you and tell you God has a purpose for your life. This program is rough, yes, but each and every one of you were called here for a reason. You're not here by accident. You're not here because your parents made you come. You're not here because the courts made you come. You're here because God called you here at this time for a purpose. Out of the guys that I went through the program with and that I've known in the program since 2018, over 11 of them are dead. 4 have died this year. 2 from natural causes, but most of the deaths were because of addiction or something that they encountered in addiction. Guys, look around this room. Look at your brothers. 5 years from now, more than likely, statistics are, at least 10 of you will be dead. Is it going to be you? Or are you going to give your life to Christ and let him guide you? It isn't how I changed my life. It's how God changed my life. What he did for me, he can do for you. I love you guys. I thank you for spending time with me this morning and listening to my story. And hey, I love you. If I can do anything for you, I'm here. Thank you guys, and y'all have a blessed day.